Hi guys, my name is Christina Porras and I am currently a student in the Masters of Occupational Therapy program at the University of Texas at Tyler. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about making DIY cash envelopes. So this would be for if you were doing a budgeting system where you were trying to use primarily cash. And so a few years back, my husband and I attended a Dave Ramsey class, and we're really drawn in by the idea of radically changing our finances. And the reason that this kind of came to mind for me when I was looking at this assignment that we had for this program was that it really has brought so much stress relief to our lives and has improved our mental health so much to be able to change our financial situation. And a huge factor in that was switching to a cash envelope system. And so in looking to buy cash envelopes, I was just floored by how much these cost and how I couldn't justify spending all of this money when I was trying to save money or get out of debt or whatever your place is. So I realized how easy they were to make. So that's what we're going to do today. You need a few supplies, and I'll tell you kind of a variation depending on if you have these supplies readily available or not. But so I have some cardstock, and you can use a thinner cardstock or a little bit thicker, but you can also just use regular paper, printer paper, whatever you have available, because you're going to laminate it anyways, and so it doesn't matter that much. I'm going to be using a laminating machine. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. This is something that I already had and I didn't have to purchase because I used to be a teacher, and a lot of times if I didn't have a project done in time to get it laminated by the school, I would have to laminate it myself. So I already had this. And then I have the laminating pouches that go with the laminating machine. But if you did need to go out and buy laminating pouches and you didn't have a machine already, they do sell a self-laminating where you just put your items in between the two sheets, and instead of running it through the machine, you just push it down and it adheres to itself. So that's definitely an option that's a little bit cheaper than buying a machine. I'm gonna use a paper cutter. You could just use scissors, but I like this one has a built-in ruler, so if you didn't have a cutter like this, you would need some kind of ruler to measure. And then I'm also optional, but I have a corner rounder if you wanted it. So the other things that I'm going to use today, just for my preferences, I'm going to use a marker to label. You don't have to do labels. You could leave them just plain and know like which paper is which category, but I'm not great at remembering necessarily what I'm thinking. And so the one thing that I figured out is that if I do a label before I laminate, it lasts a little bit longer. I've done the vinyl before and the vinyl after, and the vinyl before seems to last a little bit better. I've done like the stickers that you can do on the printer, and those work pretty well for afterwards. And then I've also left some blank just because sometimes I don't know exactly what I use them for. But today I'm going to go ahead and use marker on the paper before I laminate. So the first thing that you're going to do is fold your paper in half. I'll go ahead and fold both of these before I move it out of the way. And then you're going to cut your envelope down to size. Now, my starting point for cutting down to size is a 7" by 3.5" envelope, and they're going to end up looking like this. Now, this envelope I cut down to 3 inches, and this envelope is still at the 3.5. I think there probably would be a sweet spot at about 3.25 for the size of wallet that I currently have. But when we were doing this before, I used the bigger envelopes and I just had a bigger wallet. So it's whatever your preference. Right now we're doing primarily digital cash envelopes, which kind of sounds contradictory, but it's the same system, just without the physical cash. But I still use these primarily when we have a special savings goal that we want to set cash aside for, or if we the girls are using them to save up Bible bucks at church. So they get these little paper dollar bills, and they're using, I have one of these envelopes that's messed up that I need to replace, and that's what I'm doing today. But it stays in my Bible, and every week when they get their Bible bucks, we put them in there, and I'm trying to teach them about saving up to buy some of the bigger items in the Bible buck store that they're interested in, instead of just splurging every time they get Bible bucks on the little stuff that's junk that doesn't last, that they didn't really even want in the first place. So lots of uses. So for this one, you just need to make sure that your seam is on the outside. But if you do accidentally cut on the wrong side, it's not the end of the world, because like I said, you're gonna go back and laminate anyways, and it won't matter as long as you don't cut that side. I just like to have one side that's sealed, because then I don't have to try to keep up with two different pages when I'm putting them in the laminator. I'm good to go. I like to, if you have a laminating machine, it gives you two different options at 3 ml or 3 mil and 5 mil. And I like to use the 5 just because my cardstock is doubled. And so I feel like I get a little bit better of a seal. And I can usually fit 3 inside of one single sheet. And I just kind of line them up like so, and then put the seam part into the laminator first. And I always run through twice. It's personal preference completely. Some people think that it's overkill. Not necessary. It's just a habit that I got into after a couple of projects didn't go my way, kind of came apart. And so I just always try to, especially when I'm dealing with a thicker cardstock, run it through twice. And I'm just now realizing that I didn't do my labels on them, but that's okay. I'll show you what the final product looked like with the labels written on them underneath. I'll go ahead and show you that. So these I wrote with Sharpie on both sides, just so that it's not the most beautiful thing. My handwriting's not the greatest, but I just went ahead and labeled on both sides, so no matter how I pull it out, they're labeled, they're good to go. And the nice thing about this is I could make another set. I'll have all the stuff already, and these could just be, miscellaneous. I like to have one for coupons and gift cards, and like I said, if I'm like pulling money out for Christmas shopping or birthday shopping or birthday party planning, those kind of categories that can sometimes get a little out of control when you're just swiping a card or not keeping up with it, I like to have some of these on hand. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get our paper cutter back, and we're gonna trim them down. So basically, the most important thing to remember when you're doing this is which side is your crease on. So I'm gonna separate these out, and on this one, I can tell that it's folded down here. So when I cut, I want to make sure that I keep that edge good. Like, it doesn't matter as much, because as long as you keep 3 of the sides sealed, it'll still work out well for you. But I just try to have that extra added security of knowing that I I kept the original fold intact. Okay, so I've trimmed out my 3 edges, and now I'm going to take this top edge, and when I cut it, I'm actually going to cut into where the envelope is. You can cut a little bit of the envelope off to make sure that you get deep enough. But you'll see, like, this has a little bit of the envelope on it. But now I have a place where I can take my dollar bill and I can fit it right in there. And then optional for you is sometimes I like to go back with a corner rounder just so that I'm not getting poked with hard cardstock. And so for this, you just take and you slide your corner in and it just clamps down. So these are pretty inexpensive. You can get them at Walmart, Hobby Lobby. You can get pretty much all of this at Walmart or Hobby Lobby. And that's it. And like I said, I normally would either label it underneath or go back with like the Avery printable labels or vinyl and use my Cricut to cut out the labels for them just to be a little extra fancy or however I wanted to do it. And that's about it. And like I said, you can make, you can make these for your own personal use, or when you get good at them, you can sell them and you can make a pretty good, profit off of them. But I haven't really gotten into that. I just like the idea of being able to make my own when I want them. So I hope this was helpful, and I would love to hear if you have any ways that you've modified these to make them work for you, or any other ideas other than cash envelopes that you've found for this concept or a similar concept. Hope you have a great day.